What's going on, guys? Fuller here with Custom Offsets TV on the YouTube. You guys said to stop saying that, but I'm not gonna stop saying that. And what I wanted to do is watch a ton of donut media right before this so I can get super jacked and tell you about the next episode of From the Inbox that we're filming today, because we keep getting messages from people asking us if they can jump their truck after they lift it, and that's not necessarily the case. So today we're gonna dive into that. So before we kind of dive all the way into it, what I want to do is explain the differences between the types of shocks that are out there and why certain ones are better for performance or off-roading, whereas some are better for street driving. So most modern shocks nowadays are a nitrogen gas shock, or a nitro shock, some people will call them. And it's really similar to that hydraulic shock, but instead of just having the hydraulic fluid in there, there's also a pressurized nitrogen charge, and that helps get rid of that fluid aeration. So you notice on a nitrogen shock or a nitro shock, if you collapse that tube that extends out of the shock body, as soon as you let go, it's going to re-extend, and that's because of that nitrogen charge in there pushes that tube back out. So that's why it's more common nowadays, because that gives you a better ride quality. Now they are stiffer, but it's not too stiff where it's a harsh ride. It's just bringing your vehicle back to the original place that essentially it was resting so that your vehicle can travel smoothly down the road. In addition, the nitrogen charge in there really helps with that fluid aeration, because the nitrogen basically eats up the air bubbles, I guess you could say, so it's not an oxygen that's in there. So it helps with cooling properties, and again, if you can reduce heat, you're gonna get better performance out of your shocks. So as these shocks keep cycling, like I said, it reduces that heat and you have a better chance of getting through an off-road section, or if you're going to jump it, I guess you're one step closer to being able to jump your truck, but I still wouldn't recommend it. So that's the question, is can I jump my truck? And we'll get messages of people that have installed a rough country 6-inch, or I guess it's not even specific to rough country, but like any typical spacer lift, which is gonna reuse your stock strut assembly and a spacer. By adding a lift kit, you've added no extra properties that help in the performance aspect of your truck. The lift kit is simply going to raise your vehicle, which allows you to clearance larger wheels and tires, as well as get those axles off the ground. And it's not necessarily the lift kit that's doing it, but by having those larger wheels and tires, you're bringing that ground clearance up a little bit, and that does allow you to get through more rough terrain. But like I said, it doesn't necessarily allow you to go send this thing off the sand dunes, because you're really kind of stressing some of the geometry that's in the front of the truck. So they do make kits that allow you to do that, but we're gonna dive into that as we keep going. So going up one more step past the nitrogen shock, the next big upgrade for people is a full coilover system. One of the most popular ones that we sell on the CustomOffsets.com website is going to be from BDS. We've had really good results on some of the kits that we've installed here on company vehicles or guys that work here, as well as the kits that we've just heard about from other people who have purchased them that have really good results with these kits. A coilover is really just a shock or strut that has a coil spring around it. And then a lot of times on trucks, there's a separate shock absorber as well that goes with that. So in this example, I'm just going to be talking about the coilover itself. There's a couple different levels. Most commonly, if you're going to be off-roading or abusing your truck, you're going to want something with that remote reservoir. So what the remote reservoir does is it's holding the same fluid that would be in a hydraulic shock or a nitrogen shock, but there's more of it, and it's further away from that shock body, which allows it to cool better. And again, like I've kept mentioning throughout this entire video, the cooler you can keep something, the better it performs. As that shock keeps cycling, as you keep going over these bumps, if you're doing like any sort of high-speed off-roading, it keeps that fluid cool. Coilovers also offer usually some type of ride height adjustment or adjustable dampening, because as you compress or decompress that coil spring on the outside more, you're changing not necessarily the spring rate, but how stiff that spring is around that coilover. So if you want to do some mild off-roading and you still want to keep your on-road performance, a coilover is probably going to be the best setup for you. But again, you're not quite to the point where you can be just sending this thing 90 feet through the air. If you really want extreme off-road performance, the best way to do that is by getting a long travel kit. Now, we don't sell long travel kits, but I still want to provide you with some of the information on what these kits do. So one of the really popular ones out on the market is from Dirt King, but these things are really expensive. A coilover setup is going to cost you I'm not gonna say an arm and a leg, but it's gonna be more expensive than your standard lift kit. But these long travel setups are really quite expensive. So for just the front, on like 07 to 13 Silverado, for example, a 2-wheel drive truck, something that you're gonna be wanting to do like pre-running with or run a Baja type race with, you're gonna be spending anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 on just the kit, which is gonna include your upper and lower control arms, and all the bracketry you need for different shocks or whatever coilovers that you're gonna put in there. And like I said, that's just $3,000 to $5,000 just for those pieces, and that doesn't even include the coilovers that you're gonna wanna use. So then if you step up and you buy a set of King coilovers with remote reservoirs, like the 3.0 is a pretty common setup, just that pair of shocks is gonna run you $3,000 there. So you're already talking anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000 in front end components, and that's all before labor, just to have the front of your truck capable to do some mild jumping. And then you still have to worry about the rear, which is a whole nother story. I just sneezed. Felt that one coming. So in general, can you jump your lifted truck? I guess the answer is yes, you can, but should you? Probably not, and I definitely have to say, for legal reasons, we can't recommend that you jump your truck at all. So by installing a spacer lift kit, like I mentioned, you're not really adding any performance to your vehicle. It's gonna be mostly aesthetic or just allowing you to run those larger wheel and tires. So yes, if you want to run it through the mud, go for it, but they're not made to be sent flying through the air. Now some companies like BDS, their kind of slogan is use it and abuse it. So if you do have one of their coilover kits, they can handle quite a bit of abuse. And you know, if you're pulling a wheel off the ground or going over something that's a pretty aggressive obstacle and you do get the front end in the air, that's something that those kits can handle. What we're talking about here is the viral videos of the Dodge Ram going through the ditch and just sending it, or the Ford Raptor that goes flying 90 feet, or the Tacoma that comes across the ditch in a police pursuit, smashes into the ditch and then like jumps into a house. That one was absolutely crazy. There aren't kits out there that are designed to be doing that. Even the long travel kits, there's a limit to everything really. And you can keep spending more and more money to get a better and better kit, but at the end of the day, you have to really look at the engineering that goes into the kits, as well as the performance of the shocks before you decide to do something that extreme with your vehicle. So if you guys have any other questions that you want answered, feel free to drop them in the comments. That's gonna be it for this week's episode of From the Inbox. We're gonna keep bringing these to you as you guys keep asking us questions. Hopefully these are helpful to you. Peace. Sort of. We're talking about jumping, like jumping your truck, because people think like, oh, if I throw a 6-inch rough country lift kit on my truck, I'm gonna go off-road it and I'm gonna like send it. And you just can't. It's not what it's designed for.
You just can't do that.
He doesn't even drive a truck, he drives cars and he knows.
Yeah, you can't. You can't just do that.
No. So